Hey, so in today's video, I'd like to talk to you about anxiety. At least what I've learned from it. The effects that I've gone through, the things that it can do, specifically what it does to me, but also, what I see it does to many, many other people. I want to talk about purely how we can deal with it, and what it really is, how we can't underestimate it. Because for a while in my life, I never really thought too much of it. That was like one of my better points was I never really had too many issues with anxiety or with any of that. But recently, I can't say that I've been that exact way. So for starters, we got to get some story out of the way here. About a month ago, funny enough, just when I posted that 1 year video and I was like, I want to get back in this schedule. I was ready to get back in the schedule about a month ago. And my mom got a pulmonary embolism. It's like another term for like a blood clot in the lungs. I'm pretty sure that's essentially the same thing. But either way it goes, she got a pulmonary embolism a few days after that video, and it was like, well, now I'm out of my groove, I was out of my groove. So that was disappointing. But the point is, this pulmonary embolism. This is the story, the point of the story. So it started kind of early in the day, per se. It started kind of numbing her a little bit. We thought that it was just like, say, knots, like muscle knots and all that, just kind of sore body or something like that. But throughout the day, didn't really take much effect other than numbing her and just making her tired. We got to about 9 o'clock though, at the end of the day, and we decided that it would probably be best if we just took it into a doctor just to get it checked, because it wasn't really going away, and it was kind of getting a little bit worse. So we went to the hospital with the shortest wait time. It was like a decent journey from our house. It was about 40 minutes, I'd say. Either way, we went there, and shortest wait time. We didn't think we were going to be there long, but just as we were walking in, she starts to just go purely numb. It's like it just clicked, and it just started going crazy. Horrible, horrible thing there. It was completely out of the blue. I can't say I even saw like a fraction of that coming, but the whole thing, it was just a whole panic. It took over just like this, just like that. It was crazy. And then we had to rush her in. It was like an actual emergency. It was like a genuine thing. I don't even know what would have happened if we didn't show up to the hospital at that time, because we weren't going to do it. It was like a 50-50. We were thinking we might just wait till tomorrow, or we might just go do it now. So if we didn't go do it, then I don't know what would have happened. And that's not something I like to think about too much. But either way, point is, became a bit of an emergency. She was numbing and heart rate was spiked and all sorts of things. It was horrible. It was just me with her, because we didn't think we were going to be there that long. So so my family, the rest of my family, my brothers, my dad, like no one else was there. So it was a bit unexpected, and I didn't come prepared for that one, to say the least. We ended up staying there till like 4 a.m. But I'm telling you, that night was like a roller coaster, because for a certain amount of time, I was quite convinced she was going to die, and it wasn't like it was implied, but the doctors weren't finding anything with her. And funny thing, they did a few scans, and none of them found anything, but we took it to our family doctor, and he found a pulmonary embolism on the same scans that they reviewed. So the moral of the story there is, emergency services are actually pretty shitty. So you probably don't, they're emergencies, right? But you probably don't want to 100% trust them, because they overlooked a pulmonary embolism. So, I'm just saying, that's pretty fucking stupid. Either way, the point is, I was not prepared for it, and they said they were finding nothing, and it didn't look like they were able to do much, and it just was one of the more stressful bits of my life, I'd say. Because that night was very, I was convinced my mother was going to die. And you're not, that's not something that you want to. That's not something that you easily recover from, per se. That's not something you can easily deal with. Thinking of the thought of your mother dying and kind of seeing it before you. And I didn't have anyone else there with me, too. So it was already, eh. And furthermore, I don't like hospitals. I have other past experiences with hospitals, but, you know, I don't like them. Their atmosphere makes me a little, you know? So it was like quite the combo that night, I'd say, of things I don't want to be around, don't want to be thinking, don't want to be seeing, but I had to be there. I kind of forced myself into it, I'd say. You know, my mom offered I could leave, but no, because I was convinced she was gonna die for a little bit. I didn't really talk about it. I said it'd be fine, but like they kept saying that stuff, and she was talking to me about it, and I was kind of just dwelling on it. Wasn't good. Wasn't good. Luckily, though, everything's fine now. They gave her some blood thinner, and they actually gave her that blood thinner like at the end of the night there, and then we came back in the next morning for some other tests. Either way, they didn't know what was happening, but they still fixed it. So I mean, I can give them some props at least, but it's pretty ridiculous that they didn't see it even with like I think it was 2 or 3 scans that they did. But my family doctor can find it just like that. So emergency services kind of suck, but regardless, at least they did something. So my mom's fine now. Everything's fine now. But in those few weeks that were following, I felt like I was in a constant state of panic and anxiety, just like I was in the hospital, and it just never stopped. In fact, this kind of went on for like the first month here. It just wouldn't stop. It's only been a couple weeks where I've been getting it down, and I think today I've got it pretty damn good. Because, you know, usually talking about this thing, I can't really handle it very well. But I am right now, so, you know, I'm just saying. But either way, for the first little while, it was just a constant state of panic and anxiety. And it was something I never felt before, you know? Or, well, I have felt it before, but it's something that's never lasted this long for absolutely no reason. Because the irony is, right, she's fine. She took the blood thinner, it's gone, it's fine, she's not dying, nothing's happening. But it's that kind of after effect of what I would believe is just the trauma of it, and it just kept on dragging. It just kept on dragging. It was one of them. I think it was the most stressful experience I've had. And, you know, that's been quite the theme as of recent, you know, because for the past, it's been like 3 months, or 4 months. 4 months. In 4 months' time, 2 of my dogs have died. I got two more ones. And, like, that's a different kind of stress, you know. There's the death stress, but then there's also the responsibility of having 2 baby dogs. So those are different stresses. I don't mean the babies one in a bad way, but it's still stressful, you know what I mean? Because you got to watch them, you got to raise them, so on and so forth. Either way, 2 dogs die, got 2 baby dogs, and then my mom is the cherry on top, and that just sent me. That was just it. That was it. Because I had those feelings before of anxiety and things like that, and it went away because I wasn't that stressed about it. I wasn't in that position just yet where I ever really had an encounter with it. But then that night really tipped me down and it just sent me in kind of what I'd say was a pure panic that just wouldn't leave. I'm telling you. It was horrible, really, because for most of the days it would be like constant sickness. Like I didn't even need to eat. It got to the point where I just wasn't going to eat. I didn't need to eat. I didn't want to eat. Eating kind of disgusted me. And I've had this before, but once again, you know, if I have it for a whole week and I gotta go through the whole week like that, that's that's a horrible thing, because, you know, you don't eat, and, well, that's not healthy for you. I don't need to explain that. So you feel like garbage because you're not eating, but you also feel like garbage because of the anxiety, and that garbage feeling makes you feel like I don't want to eat. So it's like a whole circle of not eating, and it's really not, it's not good. And the sleep was horrible too. Sleep was horrible. And just the whole day was like sickening. It was just a horrible feeling that I went through with the whole day, no matter what I did. It just felt horrible. Furthermore, I I kind of became a bit of a hypochondriac in those times. It was interesting because for the first few weeks it was just a constant thing in my mind that I was wondering if something was wrong with me, because I'd always have a feeling. I'd always have a source, like I'd feel sick. That was a constant thing. And I'd always feel panicked. And I'd sometimes get like a cramp or something, and then, I'd activate like a hypochondriac mode, and I'd start to spin out and wonder what that is, and wonder why I have this weird feeling, this weird pain, this weird sensation. It's like it was ridiculous, because in retrospect, I've gone through my whole life and I've had cramps and I've had weird feelings, weird sensations, weird everything. I don't care about them though, because most of them just go away. Like if your leg cramps for a little bit, you don't usually worry about that and think, oh well, leg cancer. You usually just forget about it. You notice it, you forget about it, and then it's gone in a few hours. Sometimes it's even in like 30 minutes. Maybe the next day. Point is, it's going to be gone. And in those cases, I was great at that. I didn't really overthink any of that stuff. I wasn't a hypochondriac. I didn't overthink any of it. But it was quite funny to see, because everything made me panic. And then if I panicked, well, I'd be in that position of like, I don't need to eat, and I don't need to do any of the basic human things, and then that would make me feel like more trash, which would make me panic more and then do it all over again. You see what I'm saying? It was actually horrible. It was just disgusting. It was something I never dealt with before on such a large scale, because I've had the panic before where I don't have to eat, but that doesn't last for more than a day or two. That doesn't do that. But I had it for weeks. And of course I still ate, but I'm just saying I didn't enjoy it. I had to kind of like force it down, and it wasn't great. It wasn't great. Either way it goes though, it was just horrible. And I couldn't distract myself either. Couldn't do it. The only thing that really actually did distract me, funny enough, was social media and video games. It was like constant dopamine would kind of just flood it out. But I could not sit down and focus on instruments or on writing, or I couldn't record a video. I never tried, but I surely could not have recorded a video. I could not do anything productive. The only thing I could do would be social media and video games. And so for those weeks where that was all happening, the only thing that I ever really did all day was pretty much just video games and social media. And if I wasn't doing it, I felt like garbage. It was a disgusting cycle, and I didn't even notice it for the first while. I kind of thought it would just pass and I'd be fine, but it never did. And so I never really noticed it until my family started taking concern that like all I've been doing all day is just being on my phone or playing games all day. It's like I haven't been doing anything that I usually do. And then it started to snap with me that like, oh shit, it's been like 3 weeks and nothing's changed. So this wasn't a solution. It took me some time, but like it was such a weird state, because once again I never had anxiety on that level, and that night really pushed me over. So in my experience, it was completely new, and I thought I was at least doing something, because I thought like social media and games or stuff like that, I thought that would just calm me down, and that was like a good way to progress through the day and a good way to get through anxiety, because I'm calming down. I'm fixing this slowly. But no, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. You actually are doing more damage to yourself when you do those things, because what I could basically put it as is you take that route of social media and games and other easy ways of dopamine. Like other people do drugs to do this exact same thing. This is how a lot of drug addicts become drug addicts. But you take an easy dopamine grab or something just to get you off of it, and then you just do that all day. You do that all day. You become an addict, drug addict, video game addict, on your phone all day. Like you know what I mean. You become that guy, and then every single time that that's taken away from you, the low gets lower. You know what I mean? It's like once that gets taken away from you, you get snapped back into reality, right? And then every time that happens, reality is worse and worse because you start to realize you fix nothing. You're just pushing your problems off. And if anything, you're making them worse. So for that matter, you're just piling up. You're just using temporary distractions, which do work, but they're temporary. So they temporarily distract you, but then they grow this massive pile of things. You see what I mean? So you can take that route, or you can confront it, is what I found. But it was just horrible because you don't even really realize it half the time. You don't even realize that that's what you're doing. But that was at least my view with it, because this is my first time getting there. My first time being in that form of things. It was just hard to know. Hard to notice. And it was like you're constantly alert, right? So you'd think you'd notice, but no, you don't. And that's kind of funny, because that's how it was. It was like constant panic, stress, alertness. I was just tense all the time. And you'd think that with all that adrenaline running through me and all that tenseness and all that alertness, that I'd probably be able to spot what was going on. But no, it's really ironic, but that's part of why anxiety is a very deadly thing. Either way, as it is, my drive to do everything was sapped of me. I just distracted myself. And then when everyone started to take note, the reality started to occur to me that this is not the way to do it. I started to talk to them about it, and I started to look into it, and I started to think about it, and eventually I came to the conclusion that the only thing that I can do is, like I said, you just got to confront it. The only thing I can do is confront it, because one of my main worries was, I'm a little bit too afraid to confront it. I thought the best way to get around it was to kind of avoid it. I was a little worried about what would happen there. That's kind of why I use social media and such as a way to just get away from it, because I didn't really want to. Go deal with it. It was like a weird form of fear that I never had before. But you gotta have the courage. You gotta have the bravery to actually go do it anyway, because there's no other way. You can't live your life stuck 24/7 in a constant state of worry and panic and stress and anxiety. You can't do that. You can't do it. But you can't avoid it either. You can't stay there doing all these meaningless things instead of doing what really is important. Because that's what I was doing. Just media all day. I never touched anything important. So it was a tough spot, but I had to confront it. There must have been a way to end it, and I didn't know what was going to happen. The ending was still technically unknown at that time, but I had to do it because this wasn't getting me anywhere. Nothing was happening. And so it kind of struck me when I was talking to everyone. Like, they started telling me that it's really just about how you're thinking about it. And it really struck me. I know how to deal with this. I've spoken the words. I know the exact thing. I've told people how to deal with this. I know how to deal with it. It's funny, because anxiety, in short, is 90% just a mindset shift. It's really just that. There's also some certain things where it's environment and, stuff is going to get you panicked. But 90% of the time with cases like this, it's literally just changing your mindset. Changing the view. It's really just that. Because, if nothing's happening, like I said, my mom wasn't in the hospital, no one's dying, no one's dead as of recent, nothing's happening. So if nothing's happening, why am I panicked? I got no reason. Well, if I got no reason, then why am I continuing this? I've got no reason. So if I've got no reason, I should stop, right? It's really just a mindset shift. And it occurred to me when I was talking to everyone about that, and they basically were telling me verbatim what I've said in the past. It occurred to me that I'm a little bit of a hypocrite in some instances like that. Because I've spoken to people. Like, people don't generally come to me for anxiety advice. It's not that. But I've had conversations with people and, anxieties come up. and every now and then we'll talk about their personal anxiety and how what's that about. And oftentimes it's just like it goes something along the lines of, well, what's doing this to you? And they'll say maybe nothing, or maybe they say something but very minuscule. And I always told them, well, if it's nothing, don't worry about it. And if it is something, don't overthink it. Just let it happen for now. Because that's another thing too, is related back to the hypochondriac part of things, relating back to that. Like with these tiny little things, just like I was saying, that like these stomach cramps, or like these the sick feeling, or body pains, or whatever it may be. When it comes to little things like that, what I was doing was I was taking them and I was thinking about a million different things that they could be, which I never did before, right? What we did before is we just forgot about them and they went away because it's nothing. It's not a big deal. It's nothing. But in a state of anxiety, what it really does to you is it makes you worry about all the million things it could be, and then it just makes you panic. So in those times of being a hypochondriac, it's really easy to fall into this little trap of just making up 99 bad scenarios and one good one, but only focusing on the other 99 bad scenarios, never focusing on that one good one. And so what I would tell people would be, just wait for it to pass, and if it doesn't pass, then we can be concerned. Because like with a cramp lasts till tomorrow, let's see. If it gets worse, yeah, go check it. If it's the same, give it a little bit more, then go check it. And if it gets better, you're fine. And that mentality was very easy, right? Because it's like, we're just gonna, like right now, this could be a million different things. I don't know which one it could be, but they're all equally possible. They're not equally possible, but they're all equally identifiable, to say the least. Which is just saying that you can't tell which one it is, so don't panic about it. In the moments where you start to panic about how this could be cancer, how I broke my leg, how I must have some infection, or I didn't stretch properly before my workout, it's really just down to that. It's in those moments. Stop panicking about it and just give it some time. If it gets worse, you go to the doctor. If it doesn't, you're fine. And so I told people that, and I told people how to deal with anxiety, and I knew exactly how to do it. But the irony is, Jake couldn't do it. I can't do it. And so I felt a bit like a hypocrite in that bit of time, because I felt like I knew the answer and that I should have been able to do something with that, Because if I was able to tell people how to deal with things, and I can't do it myself, then what am I doing? And I thought about it, and I really jotted it down to just, I've never experienced true anxiety until then. And so when I thought that they were making things up, which, actually, I'm just going to get that out of the way. Everything is technically, 99% of things are actually made up with anxiety. But point is, when I thought that they were just stressing weirdly too much, or just being dramatic, I'm right, but I'm also wrong. Because with anxiety, you can be dramatic, but it's like a whole different thing from stress. It makes you dramatic. It is that way. And so when someone's having an anxiety or a panic attack or something like that, it's not that they're being dramatic, it's that they're in a position in their mind that kind of creates or that kind of pushes them to forcefully to be dramatic. It's not that they're choosing to be dramatic, it's that they're kind of forced into it. So when I was giving them that advice and I was thinking, this is such an easy fix, it kind of isn't. And that made me feel like a hypocrite, because now I'm experiencing it and I know the answer, but I can't do it. Why is this such an issue for me? It's because anxiety is a real thing. It's not it's not just some simple mindset shift that takes you away and that's it. It is something to work on, but it is 90% a mindset shift. It's just not a simple one. I'll say that because it takes a lot of effort to actually get you in the right space for that and prepare and get you, say, back to your normal self. But you know, it's just not simple. So when I gave people that advice, and I was like, it's really just as simple as thinking the other way. It's really not. It's really not. Anxiety is an actual thing, and it takes you in a different way. So, bit of a hypocrite, I guess you could say. But it's okay, because either way it went, I started to realize that no matter what, this is a real issue. And it is. I know the answer. I know what to do, but it's a real issue, and it's something. It's something different that I've never dealt with before, but that a lot of other people have. So with my first go with it, it was interesting. But I took those words, I took that idea of changing my mindset, and it really worked. But it takes a lot of effort. So here's kind of what I did. It was really just grounding, a lot of grounding. So let's take, for instance, there's something wrong with, or like I feel sick. So instead of saying that I'm dying, right, for example, instead of saying I'm dying, how about we think about what we've been doing over these past few days? So in those past few days, was I eating? No. Was I in a constant state of panic? Yep. Would that make me feel sick? Yeah. So is it logical to go to the doctor and say I'm dying, or is it logical to calm down, eat some food, and then wait for it to get better? And if it doesn't get better, then go to the doctor and figure it out. Is it logical to do that, or is it logical to just go to the doctor now? It's more logical to put some food in your belly and just calm down. It's way more logical to do that, because the likely cause of your sickness is that you didn't eat and you're panicked. That's how anxiety works. You gotta ground yourself back down. At least for hypochondriacs, you just gotta ground yourself back down and realize most of these ailments would have passed if I just did the right thing. If I did stretches before my workout, if I got proper sleep, if I didn't overthink it, it'd all be fine. And it works the same for all other types of anxiety too, actually, because like with my mother, she was fine, so why am I panicking? She's got the blood thinner, she's got no more blood clots, she's not in the hospital, they said she's fine, why am I panicking? So when I looked at it like that, it was like, well, I got no reason. There is no reason to panic. I mean, there was still a reason because, I'm concerned about my mother, but the point is like, if nothing's currently happening, then I shouldn't be concerned about that. Got a fluff in my eye. But anyway, yeah, you shouldn't be concerned about that, because you need to remember, bad things will always happen. And you can't stop it. But you can't live your life predicting them and waiting for them and anticipating them. You can't wait for that. You can't do it, because then you're in a constant state of anxiety, you're in a constant state of panic, and then you're going to miss out on all the things you could do. Because let me put it to you like this. One of the things that helped me the most was, I'm thinking, like this is how I kind of thought about it to myself. I'm panicked all day. All day. Just 24/7, I'm panicked. Or when I'm not panicked, I'm on my phone, or I'm playing a game, or I'm doing something that isn't productive. It's just kind of useless. I'm using something as a filler. But other than that, I'm panicked all day. All these days that have passed, nothing's happened. All my ailments, in quotes, have passed. Nothing bad has happened. So, with this in mind, am I going to live my life focused on the potential of a bad thing and missing out on all the things I could do? Or am I going to stop worrying about that and live my life normal again? That really helped me the most, because and that's actually another grounding method, I guess you could say. But it really helped the most because I realized what I was missing in life and how I was doing it to myself, essentially. It wasn't anxiety. It was really just me. I couldn't let myself be held back by this. I can't do that. I'm missing out on everything. So why should I let that happen? There's no good reason. I came up with no good reason. There was no reason for me to let myself stir around and have anxiety. There was no reason. So, really just a mindset shift. I'm not even going to lie. It's really just a mindset shift. But it is a real thing. So the idea is you want to ground yourself, whatever the case may be. This is how it works, for me at least. Because most of us already know the answer. Like I said, I felt like a hypocrite because I already knew how to deal with this. I just didn't do it. So what you got to do is you really just got to muster up the courage, and you have to just ground yourself. Just think, what's causing me panic? If it's a valid thing, you got to take valid moves. You got to, like, let's say your mother is dying. Well, then you have a reason to be panicked. Or let's say you are sick, then, and like you're going to the hospital or something, then yeah, you got a reason to have anxiety and have some panic. But for irrational things, my mother isn't dying, but I'm still panicked. I feel sick, but like there's a million things that could have caused it, but I'm panicked. It's like you can't stick around for that stuff. It'll take you away from the life you're supposed to live. It really will. So just muster up the courage, face it, and ground yourself. Just bring yourself back down. That's all anxiety is. It's just a bunch of feelings and emotions and thoughts that are actually wild. 99% of the things that you think about, or no, like 99.9% of the things that you think about and that might happen in your mind when you're having a panic attack or when anxiety is flowing through you, 99.9% of those things never happen. And it's funny how that works, because in retrospect today, I can look back on all those things and they're ridiculous. But in those moments, it was a whole other thing, I'll tell you what. It was a whole other thing. So, anxiety's real, is my point. That was my first experience with it, and that's kind of how I tackled it. But you got to make it a habit. You got to make it a habit, and you got to be willing to be brave, because bad things will happen. Panic will come for you. Anxiety will come for you. We will all have it, but it is truly up to you whether or not you will let it control you. It will be hard work. It will demand your attention, and it will take, say, a considerable amount of your energy, but you will be okay. You need to ground yourself. You need to remember that everything's fine, and you need to put faith in the idea that 99.9% of those things will never happen, because it is true. They won't. You need to put faith in that. Anyway, that's about it. Thank you for listening on this one. It's a bit of a long one, I'd say, right? I think it's a long one. I haven't seen the recording time on it, but the point is, this has been a little. This is my first ramble back, I guess you could say. I'm supposed to return this time. I promise. Either way it goes, though, this is one of the more, say, deep videos, I guess you could say, because I'm really affected by what happened here. This one really got me more than the rest, I'd say. And it was really confusing. I actually thought like this whole thing would just continue forever. It was one of my fears, actually. That was one of my fears, was that I was going to live my life in a constant state of anxiety. That was one of the fears. And another one was like, what was the fear of having another anxiety attack or panic or something like that. Ridiculous stuff, because like I said, bad things will happen, panic will come, this will happen. And like I said again, you can't live your life worrying about that stuff. You can't live your life going through it, because you're going to miss out on everything. That is essentially the fear of nothing. 99.9% of those things will never happen. So that's the fear of nothing, I'm telling you. And it's really funny how that works. But anxiety is real. So when you see someone going through it, or when you're going through it even, just remember, it's not so simple. It's not so simple. This takes time. This is a habit. Each day that I put these methods into use, it was a different day, and it got better, but there were, if I'm being honest, there were worse days, I'd say, actually. But the point is that it takes time, and that day by day, it did become a habit, and now today it doesn't bother me. Well, it still does a little bit, but to the point now where I think I've got it down enough that I can share it here, and I'm experienced enough to know what I'm talking about, but to a degree. So, just understand that it's not so basic, and it will take time, but you can do it. It will become a habit. You just got to be there for it. Either way, though, thank you for listening to this one. Just make sure that you help people who have this stuff. Just tell them this. Tell them this. Tell them you got to ground yourself. Tell them about how 99.9% of those things never happen. Tell them about simple solutions. That's the one. I wish someone told me, people did tell me a lot, but I wish someone would really shake me about it. Is that if you're feeling like for instance, I was feeling sick. If you're feeling sick, maybe it's because you haven't eaten and you're in a constant state of panic. I wish someone would shake me about that. Because they told me, but I wasn't getting it. So when someone has that kind of scenario where it's just like a basic solution, shake them. I beg you, shake them, because it really is simple solutions 99% of the time. Either way, and when you get it, remember this stuff too. Remember this stuff, and I hope someone will be there to help you, because it is tough, but these are the tools that at least got me to overcome it. And I think that it'll be fine for you too. I know it, even. If you follow these steps, if you make the habits, if you do this over time, you will be able to overcome it at any point. There will be tougher days, but the point is, you will be able to do it. You will. You just need to confront it, no matter how much it scares you, because it will be okay. It will. I promise you. Anyway, that's about it. My challenge for you today is just to be as positive as possible. And also, technically a bonus one, if you will, if someone with anxiety is in your life right now and is say having an attack or having a time right now, go talk to them, go give them this advice, help them through it. They won't be able to fix it like that. Just remember, it does take time. I can't say that enough. I've said it 5 times now. They won't snap like this. You need to be there for them. But just give them this advice. And then my challenge for everyone is just be positive, because all this is really just a mindset. And so if you have a negative mindset, you're going to be asking for it. But if you have a positive one, you're going to be fine. You're going to forget about it, and you're going to be back to your normal self. Our minds have great influence on us, so much so that I didn't even think it was possible. Anxiety is a mindset, and it is a real thing. So remember that. Remember, it is so simple, but it is so complicated too. Anyway, that's about it. It's been a pleasure to share this one with you. A deep lesson, but one that I'm so proud that I've been able to overcome and share here with you. This one's valuable. Thank you for listening. Take care, my friend.